Morning. See, we are on YouTube. Morning, Roxanne. Thank you for my rooms as usual. Pauline Buckmeyer, morning. Rukmin Gangadine, morning to you. J Dimple 66, morning. Oria Gani, morning. Linda Supreme, morning to you. Evelyn Clark. Donna Walcott, morning. Arlene Lewis, morning, Arlene. Morning out there. Sedena, morning. Deborah Duranti. Morning, Diane. Morning to His Excellency, President of Pleasantville, Nigel O'Connor, and First Lady Mauricia Kagan. Morning, Alison. I just think it's coming up with slow connection. I don't know. Kathy Belfon, morning. Daryl, morning. Morning, Deborah. Morning, Dish. Morning, Mava. Desmond Samuel, morning to you. Brenda Isaac, Gerald, Pascal Manzuel, Patricia McKenzie, morning. Adriana, Alexis, morning to you. Merlene West, morning. Rude, morning. Deborah Duranti, Margaret Thomas, Shirley Jimenez, morning. Morning, Carol. Laverne, morning. Right, let me jump into this because I absolutely have to jump off at 8 o'clock this morning. It's another one of those, another one of those days. Mario Che Guevara, morning. Gilan, morning. Eva Smith Spivey, morning. Lynette Harris, morning to you. Patsy Nelson, the Patriot, morning. Carol Boyce, Romelias Rogers, morning to you. Pamela Nelson, David Manuel. Right, so let me just jump into it, and the others will follow. So let me just turn on this thing here. Right. Let me see, David Manuel. Yes, Mario, I did watch the Crime Talk meeting. In fact, that is what I'm going to touch on this morning in the short time that I will be on. That and just a couple other things quickly. Let me just jump into it. Yeah, so there was one other thing that I was supposed to address coming out of that interview that Mr. George did last week with Juliet that I forgot to mention on Sunday. Just now, let me just see if I get this here. Right, and it was the suggestion or the insinuation that he would have made that when the question was asked of him, if he is a supporter of the UNC, given the fact that there was a rumor going around that he would be the UNC's candidate for the 2025 election, I think it is, for Point Fortin. And his response to that was, that was propaganda, and he saw that on social media, and let me see if I find it. Let me see if I get it. Don't want to misquote.
In voice, you are also a businessman. You also have to manage the radio station, and as we said, survival in this game is very critical, and the persons that it's like a snake and ladder. You go up and you come down, and the persons that you meet on your way up are the very same persons that you would meet on your way down. So you have to be careful how you treat with persons. Let's talk about your relationship with UNC.
Why ain't talking about the relationship with the PLM first?
Well, I'm getting there. Well, I'm interviewing you. You see, I'm the interviewer.
Well, so, in the alphabet, P is before you.
Well, I want to know about your relationship with. I want to know about your relationship with.
I do not have no political relation. I don't have no relationship with no political party.
You're glad you mentioned your relation. Anyway, let me see. Is it this one?
Sitting on my line. You understand? And he run himself in a problem, and I tell him, boy, listen, sometimes I don't know when you get to go when you're on the bench, sit on the bench.
Was like Aisha. And up to the day, a lot of.
No, that one isn't it. Let me see. Is it this
station
campaign?
The campaign, listening to nobody, But however, you're going into the PNM and you're running in the people election as a independent. You understand? Right? And I know how them is down there. When I say I was sitting here.
Oh, okay.
That I was behind that, you know what I'm saying? And I really didn't know nothing about that. So anyway, I look at him. And then you gotta remember, where I sit in, I could see every political move in the future. Okay. I'm clear on it. You understand? And I know Jack when I was going to come back into politics. And I started to ask myself, what Dominic will be doing when Jack wanna come back because I see boss. Mm-hmm. So we say, let me ask Sharon.
Yeah. Up to the day, a lot of
this man joke, yes. He's a prophet. So if Jack wanna come back anything, and because I contested a position in the PNM's internal election, they will say he sent me. Really, Iowa? Really? Talk about hubris. That they would. Why would they possibly say that? Again, but he says he knows about all the political moves and so in the future. No, you don't. Because clearly you are not aware of the relationship that I have with the PNM and persons in the party. So that piece of nonsense you talk there about, they will say that you sent me. Come on, really? And if Jack coming back in the politics, and Jack is my boss, since when? I parted ways with the ILP years ago, right? When it became abundantly clear that that the ILP was no more, which was at least around 2018, 2019, thereabouts. Long time I parted ways with them. In fact, in the 2020 election, and this nonsense about Jack is my boss. So let me just clear that up quick, because as I said, I have limited time this morning. In the election of 2020, when Mr. Warner decided to challenge for the seat, Lupino Bonner West, right? Rika Ramjet was his campaign manager. And Rika reached out to me to be a part of the campaign. And I told her, Rika and I very good. Very, very good friends. And I told her, I said, PL, and as I call her PL, she calls me chairman. Said, I can't be a part of that. I said, Jack doesn't have a snowball chance in hell of winning that seat. And I explained to her why I was of that opinion. I said, so I can't. And I said further to that, the ILP, I am not prepared to be a part of anything where you're using the ILP just as a vehicle. I mean, Steiner, the ILP is no longer a party. We've all gone our separate ways. And you know where I stand now. You listen to me on the radio, so you know what my position is. I'm not about to abandon, not to run back to the ILP for what? For what? So she said, well, come on, walk with us. Now, I never went. I spoke to Nigel, I spoke to Janelle, because when she couldn't get Joan, would tell her to call me and thing. I said, I tell her all that not making no sense. Jack cannot win that seat. And further to that, any of them could tell you. Rika could tell you, Nigel could tell you, Janelle could tell you, Jack could tell you. And when I was there in the ILP, I told them, the day Jack decided to go back with the UNC, I want no part of that. I don't want no senatorship. I don't want to sit on no board. I don't want nothing. Nothing. My position with respect to where the UNC is will always remain the same. I want no part of that, and I will be gone. So when I parted ways, that was it. Everybody went back, all as they say, all Zandali crawled back in the hole. So who was PNM went back PNM, who was UNC went back UNC. And that was that. So to listen to I was talking nonsense about Jack was my boss. Where you just get this information from? Really? Where you get that from? Jack is I haven't spoken to Mr. Warner. The last time I spoke to Mr. Warner was at a line Rika Ramjit had at our home, an All Fours line, and that was probably over 3 years ago, right? Over 3 years ago. Every time Mr. Warner decides to put his foot back into the political arena, certain people he calls. And I am not one of them. I am not one of them. Because I know he used to listen, and he still listens to 91.9. So he used to hear how I defended the PNM, right? And what my position is with respect to the UNC. So Mr. Warner would never call me. Rika Ramjet might, right? But not me. And then this thing, as I would have started off by saying that somehow I was involved in this rumor that was going around that he was supposed to be the PNM's candidate, the UNC's candidate, sorry, in 2025 for Point Fortin. I saw that circulating on social media, just like everybody else, right? And then it did appear on the Debunking page, but I keep making the point, and I need to reinforce it. While I may be the face, the prominent face of the page, I am not the only person who posts stuff on the Debunking page. We have other admins who from time to time post stuff. So not everything that you all see coming up on the Debunking page is coming from me. Sometimes I read the comments with stuff put out and people would attribute it to me, but I am not the only person who posts stuff. In fact, it is not often that I post stuff. If you see me post something, it might be an article that I saw somewhere or the likes of that. But most of the posts on the page is not me. A lot of so on, and of course the response would come from Debunking, but it is not always me responding to these people, right? So I just needed to put that out there. I'm not the only person affiliated with this page. Right? There are others who are free to post. You may notice that sometimes, anyway, let me not go there. But just to make that point. So this insinuation that was me, and I put him up because I had an axe to grind of sorts. I had no axe to grind with Iowa. I had no axe to grind. As it didn't exist, but I didn't see the need to talk about that. It's only because he opened the gate and I needed to respond. But at the end of the day, as I'm saying, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. So these people who figure I needed to be on the radio, no, I did not need to be on the radio. Certainly it was for any monetary gain, I could tell you that. Right? And I always tell you all, it was a labor of love. For all the time that I was in radio, I was never looking for any pay. In fact, when I went back, when they called me to become a part of the morning show, and contrary to what I was said, well, it's because Sharon had been getting up 5 o'clock every morning, coming to the studio for how much years, and then he wanted to give her 2 days. You all would recall when I joined the morning show, it was same Sharon and myself for a couple months. So Sharon was still coming out with me. It's not like it was Sharon and myself. When eventually, well, what I was told, and you see again, I do like to go into all of this nitty-gritty. When management called me to ask me to come and be a part of the morning show, I told them I'm not a morning person. I do not like getting up early. So I can't see myself getting up early to reach down in any radio station for 5 o'clock. And that's why I used to come for 6. And even that was a challenge. I don't like to get up early. That is why even to do this sometimes is a struggle because I'm not a morning person. But what I was told is that, look, we're looking to create a morning show that presents a different perspective. So Sharon has her style and you have her style, and we want to try and bring the two together to mesh. And that is what I was told. And I wasn't told anything about Sharon needed a break or anything. And then it was going good. And then, of course, they came with a letter stating, well, because of the economic situation and not enough ads coming and so on, so it would be, I would be on for 3 days and then Sharon would be on for 3 days. And we started doing that when it was in person. And then when the government had to reinstitute lockdowns because of when the deaths started to increase under COVID, and we went back virtual, but we went virtual, right? So we used to do the program from home. Sharon and I used to come back on together again, and it was the 3 of us, myself, Sharon, and Bruce, every morning. And the show was going along. We were happy with that. And then management came, and again, they said, well, here, we had to allow 3 days by 3 days. So we wanted to go back that way. You say, well, okay, we went back that way. And again, they reinforced that it was an economic thing. But I raised that point because when I started on the morning show, for the first month and until the second day, so be telling me, hey, if you want to get paid, you had to sign this book and whatnot. I never used to sign no book because it was never about no money thing for me. I keep making the point. I do well professionally, so these little things does not matter to me. They were the ones who kept insisting, hey, I see you ain't sign the book, and you ain't sign the book. How you expect to get paid? Come on. Like, really? Yeah, but anyway, so I just want to let everyone know that I had nothing to do with that. I saw a rumor, like everybody else circulated, based on the picture that was taken when you went to that meeting that they had in Center of Excellence. And you just showed up and you were more than happy to take pictures with Kamala and Mr. Warner and whoever else. Yeah. So people drew conclusions, right? The population not dotish. Anyway. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Political Analyst, and you could see. Anyway, let me leave that alone. So let me just run into it quickly. So I saw the ministry, many of you may have seen on Facebook, where the ministry, since the Prime Minister's confirmation, was it last week, I think, about this ferry service that is supposed to run between Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Barbados in the first instance, and who knows which other Caribbean countries are going to jump on. The Prime Minister, it would have been announced that the Galleon's Passage is to be used in the first instance for the leg between Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana, right? Because of all the point that was made is that the minister would have indicated that there are certain downtimes where not all 4 ferries are used because of the reduction in traffic from Trinidad to Tobago. So there's only certain times of the year after Carnival, Easter, and so on, August vacation, and thing, you would see an increase in the amount of persons from Trinidad going to Tobago. But other times of the year, it's not really that. So you were saying that at any given time, 2 of the ferries are just down because of the reduction in passenger flow. So they could afford at this point in time to commit the Galleon's Passage to this endeavor, which is laudable. But I saw the Doglaya decided to do, forgive me, I really didn't want to, but I didn't want to play that, but anyway. Forgive Molly. Let's see this thing here, just now. Where is this video? Yeah, this is another I crave your indulgence morning, but not for too long.
The Galleon's Passage is a vessel that was procured by a ministerial committee of the PNN. When have you all ever heard in corporate governance that ministers, decision makers, do a tender process or any process to procure? Because corporate governance means those who are going to spend the money must stay far from the decision. But they were to procure at a lease for a fast ferry. And Colmin, Champa Kujo, and others on a committee went to find the Galleon's Passage from somewhere. And they didn't lease it. They bought it. This slow boat that when it tried to go to Tobago, more regurgitation occurred than ever before. And it sat down there and they told you that, listen, well, it wasn't really, says Rowley, meant to be a fast ferry. It was really purchased for the port in Toko to go from Toko to Tobago. Where the port in Toko? You see, in order to get foreign exchange and in order to get a port.
Right, so what I wanted to take away from that little clip there is where he spoke about this ministerial committee and where have you ever heard about a ministerial committee procuring and making decisions and so on, and the minister supposed to stay far. Let me just read again and remind Mr. Yeah. You could feel the greed, Julian John, testifying before the Commission of Inquiry into the Piaco Airport project. John was given authority over the project with her swearing in as Minister of Transport, but she said she never felt like the leader. She said after being introduced at the first meeting, she was basically ignored as discussions continued and decisions were made ad hoc. She later expanded on the meeting, saying the greed was palpable, you could feel it, it was nasty. The meeting was a gathering of an interministerial committee charged with overseeing the project, contractors and airport authority staff. asked by the commission chairman Clinton Bernard if she was not the de jure leader and the de facto leader. John said not the de facto. There were a lot more people more powerful than me on that project. Even the client representative was more powerful, she said. Eventually, having perused several documents on the project, she said she decided to speak to the Prime Minister because someone had to stop the insanity. It was getting worse every day. Right? At a meeting with Pandey in his Whitehall office, John said she told him, "Sir, you have a very indisciplined project at Piarco. Too many people are talking. Too many people are making decisions. We need to put it to rest quietly." Right? So when he come to tell you, you ever hear about it? Let me just roll it back a little bit there. Right?
Says Rowley, meant to be a fast ferry. It was really, they bought it at a lease for a fast ferry and called me Champa Kujo and others on a committee that ministers, this showing you. Now they're talking about the Galleon's Passage. You all remember what the Galleon's Passage is? The Galleon's Passage is a vessel that was procured by a ministerial committee of the PNN. When have you all ever heard in corporate governance that ministers, decision makers, do a tender process or any process to procure? Because corporate governance means those who are going to spend the money must stay far from the decision. But they would.
Yes, Anil, you want me to tell you when have we heard it before? I just read it for you. Right? 1995 to 2001. Interministerial Committee to run the Piarco Airport project. Anil, I don't know if as you lose your hair, you're losing brain cells too, so your memory short. Yes, but we've heard it before. And since you want to talk about those who spend the money supposed to stay far from it, apparently you didn't understand that, or you didn't get that memo when you took Adolphus Daniel to Mr. Larry Hawaii, then Minister of Finance, introduced him to Mr. Hawaii and introduced this project called under the live sport for Mr. Daniel to receive $34 million to teach maths and English. You were the minister. You said you should have, as you just said, you're supposed to stay far. He who is spending the money is supposed to stay far from the decision-making process. Supposed to stay far from that. But you, Larry Hawaii is on record as saying, you, Doug Lyer, brought Adolphus Daniel to him to introduce Mr. Daniel to him. And after that, next thing you hear, Adolphus get a contract for $34 million to teach math and English and never one day taught a single class. And we, the taxpayers, never got a sticker chalk, a pen, a pencil, piece of paper, a paper clip, nothing for that $34 million. Where you find Adolphus? Where did you find him? Did you stay far from the tendering process? You who were the minister of sport. You who had ultimate responsibility for the live sport program, even though you like to talk about the technocrats in the ministry and the minister not involved and all of that. You all don't understand that, but when it comes to Fitzgerald Hines and crime, he's supposed to be front and center. But when you were there, well, don't blame me. All the wrong things that happen in life sport, don't blame me. You know, it's not the minister. The minister don't get involved in that. The minister is just for policy. Minister is just policy. So is it policy for a minister to take a contractor or a potential contractor and go to the Minister of Finance and introduce him and say, look, yeah, this man. Was there a tendering process for this contract to teach math and English? Is it that E-Beam Limited, Adolphus Daniel, was the only person who could have done this job? What was the tendering process, Anil? What was it? Tell us now. Was it Soul Select? Because we know you know a lot about Soul Select. You know about all the different tendering strategies. Was there tender for that? And how is it that the man that you introduced, so even before a decision was made, the man that you introduced to the Minister of Finance to get that $34 million, get the contract. But you want to come and now and talk trash, rubbish about where people look. Boy, you deserve the award for hypocrisy, yes, but then again, all in that party, the entire leadership of that party. I always say, if hypocrisy was a party, it would be them. But these are the things you need to expose. Well, you ain't fooling me. Our memory not short, Anil. Our memory not short. Yes, we've heard of an interministerial committee engaging in procurement, and it was initiated and started under the party that you now support. Just thought I would put that in here. So they had and why I raised the Galleons Passage issue. So I see the president of Guyana, posting on his Facebook page pictures of the Galleons Passage, and he's so proud of this achievement. Several government ministers in Guyana have done the same thing. And when you read the comments under these posts, the people of Guyana are so happy and so pleased, and they can't wait for this thing to start, and they're looking forward to ride on the Galleons Passage and all of that. And meanwhile, when you look at the comments from the Trinis, total opposite. It's only bash and all kind of thing, but the Galleons Passage this and the Galleons Passage that. They could find nothing positive to say. Nothing. So when they throw the nastiness into the mix now, you have some guy and he's coming to say, well, why are they saying that? Why this? Why that? And then they want to call themselves patriots. Yes, they stand in defense of Trinidad and Tobago. But again, understand, as I would have told you all before, over the course of the next few months as we head into general election 2025, you're going to be seeing a lot of things happening that for which the government should receive plaudits and praise, and the UNC and the supporters will find all kinds of ways to try and pour scorn and cold water on it. Right? So while the rest of the Caribbean is hailing this achievement, this is the start of something greater. And he mentioned there about the Toco port and the Galleons Passage was supposed to be for the port and so on. And that is correct. That is correct. At the time when the Galleons Passage was procured, it was because there was a situation on the low domestic sea bridge. I don't want to call it a crisis, but it was something akin to a crisis. And you all remember, I don't need to go back into the details of that. We needed a vessel because the two that we had, the two that Kamla Prasad-Bissessar and the People's Partnership inherited from Patrick Manning and his administration, for the 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days that they were in office, they allowed it to run down when these vessels should have been going on dry dock. So for maintenance, they kept requesting extension after extension after extension, right? Jeopardizing the safety of the passengers, jeopardizing the well-being of the vessels. And eventually, when this administration came in 2015, the entity that is responsible for granting these extensions said, no, there's to be no more. And I think this is an international entity that no more extensions because these vessels need to go on dry dock. And that is what this administration inherited. So while they inherited two properly working, well-maintained vessels, what they would have passed on, right? What they would have bequeathed to this administration were two vessels, one in ICU, one in HDU, and the one that was in ICU could not be saved. Fortunately, the one that was in HDU got the tender loving care that it needed, but it came at a great cost to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and the price tag that had been estimated to rehabilitate the one that was in ICU, it made no sense to spend that kind of money, right? And it was packed up for a while. Eventually, it was sold for, I think, $3 million US, and then we know on its way to the home of its new buyers, it sank in the ocean, somewhere, as they were towing it to Europe, wherever it was going. That is what this administration, but they made it seem like the PNM mash up the sea bridge, but would never take responsibility for the part that they played in that whole situation by not maintaining the vessels. And the Galleons Passage was like manna from heaven, because it's not like you could go on eBay or Amazon and order a fast ferry. These things are normally custom built. If you're fortunate that there's one to be leased at a point in time, you all know the struggles that the government went through, and eventually when they found the Galleons Passage, it was for sale. They bought it. We hear all kind of thing about old boat, slow boat to China, all kind of choppiness they say about the boat. But anyway, it was a means to an end, and it performed. And then eventually the government said, look, when we build the port in Toco, people keep saying it's a shorter journey from Toco to Tobago than from Port of Spain. So the Galleons Passage would be committed to Toco, and therefore that would be a shorter trip. Okay, the port isn't complete yet, and we have the Galleons Passage, and it could be used in this first leg. The Minister of Works and Transport did indicate that that the government is in the process of looking for another fast ferry, one that might be more ideal for that particular project. So in the interim, the Galleon's Passage would serve on that project, and then when the vessel, subsequently, another vessel is going to be purchased for that. And I imagine that Barbados and whoever would purchase their own vessel as well. Guyana eventually would purchase their own vessel, because one car work, not for that long journey. We're hearing it's going to be a 24-hour trip and so on. So anyway, but this is just the start. We are the first one to put skin in the game, so to speak, and the people of Guyana appreciate it. But the Trinis who support that other party, nah, no kudos for Rowley, nothing. Rowley and the PNM must not get any support, because we have an election coming up, and we don't want people to look back from a dispassionate position and say, this government are really doing stuff, But again, the public relations arm of the party needs to do some work. I don't know how many more times we will say that. How many more times we will say that? I'm tired. I mean, I told you I went by Dean on Sunday. Had a wild meat lime and so on, and there were a number of prominent persons there in attendance. And the thinking, the sentiment, the most echoed sentiment of the evening was that the People's National Movement needs to do more to promote the things that the government is doing. The government needs to do more to promote what it is doing. You're doing things, yes, but if the people don't know, what you'll come and say when the election comes, well, we do, but okay, So yes, when Kamala Prasad was there, they had Voices of Government working for you, using state media, using the mandatory allotted time on private television stations and radio stations to broadcast what it is that they were doing. They took full advantage of that. And I don't know why it is, or what is the issue, that for some reason it's just not sticking with members of the current administration. You need to do more to promote what it is that you're doing. Yes, it's on your ministry websites and so on, and yes, it's on the People's National Movement Facebook page, but people who support the UNC and others who are on the fence, not going to go on Facebook and type in People's National Movement. They're not doing that. They're not going on Google and type in Ministry of Works and all of that. They're not interested in that. This is why you have to put it in their face, that when they're scrolling through Facebook or they're on Instagram, these things must pop up. You're going through Facebook, right? The ads that come up, the ministry could invest in an ad, whichever ministry, so that they could see it. I am. Sometimes I talk till my throat sore. How many more people I will tell about the different programs under the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service and all these, and people say, but how we don't know about that? But why the government not promoting that? Well, your guess is as good as mine. But anyway, again, remember, we're operating in the interest of time. So the UNC had their crime talks last night in St. Joseph, in La Jolla, the Eastern Credit Union compound there. And the first question that came to mind, as I didn't listen to the whole thing, because I only came across it. I was looking for it last night, I couldn't find it, and I saw it was posted on the Doglaya Politics Facebook page. And the first thing that came to mind was, who financed this endeavor? And this is the first of several that they plan to carry out, to engage in throughout the country, right? But when you look at the whole setup and stuff, the question then is asked, who financed that? Because here it is, you have a political party that could barely pay its rent. A political party that charges or taxes its taxes, its MPs and its councillors. I think they said 10% of the monthly salary in order to be able to pay their bills. They don't have a permanent home. After 34, going on 35 years, they're still homeless. As I always say, knocking from pillow to post like the littlest hobo. But they have money to pay for a setup like this. And again, it begs the question, who is financing? Because we know a lot of their financiers have turned their backs on them subsequent to the outcome of the local government election. But apparently they found people with deep pockets who willing to support this. The other thing that I found striking was I noted that there appeared to be a number of foreign nationals in the audience at this event. And it looked to be and I was wondering, I saw persons of Chinese nationality and others. And I was saying, but based on the way they were dressed, they looked official. And Professor Hubert Daisley, who was one of the speakers last night, um, he confirmed my suspicion. So when he, in his salutations, opening salutations, made mention of members of the diplomatic corps to that effect. So apparently there were persons representing foreign embassies who were also present at this crime symposium hosted by the UNC, which I find to be very peculiar, because these are the things that would raise the eyebrows of the government. I mean, there's nothing, it's an open forum, nothing preventing, but given the fact that it was a politically organized meeting, and when you listen to the utterances of Gary Griffith, it's like he thought it was a Monday night forum meeting or something like that. Because again, every and any opportunity that Gary gets to speak, he uses it as a platform to attack Dr. Rowley. And while he did not make mention last night of Dr. Rowley by name, he would have done so in other ways. And also, but he mentioned the Commissioner of Police earlier here with Christopher by name in a most disrespectful and condescending manner. In particular, her calls for the nation to pray. He made mention of that in a jocular way, basically, to kind of poke fun or scorn at her. So, but anyway, I would remind him of the scripture that says, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray. Right, Gary? So all you want to laugh at you, go ahead. Go ahead. But just I wanted to play, I haven't listened to Mrs. Pasabi, I haven't gotten that far yet to listen to what she had to say. But I'm sure we would have heard about stand your ground and giving people a gun and all that kind of thing. I noted in yesterday's newspaper where the police would have seized a firearm, a licensed firearm from its owner. I think it's a 58-year-old businessman, because he would have pointed in, and he had an argument or a dispute with his wife and other family members, and he pulled the gun on them. And as a result of that, the police would have seized his licensed firearm and his FUL. Interestingly, again, let us give guns to law-abiding citizens. That's the UNC solution to crime. Give guns to law-abiding citizens, and that would solve the problem, right? So incidents like this, where this man, there's an argument with family members. His wife and other family members, he pulled out his gun, pointed it at them. Yeah? But that is solution. Get them, let me make it easy. You want gun, come. Just come here, a law-abiding citizen. You could get a clean certificate of character. FUL for you. FUL for you. Yes, you're struggling, you're suffering, you can't afford to buy food, you can't afford to pay bills, you can't afford to pay property tax, you cannot afford any increases in electricity rates because the cost of living is too high for you. You're living paycheck to paycheck, you're suffering, you're below the poverty line. That is their mantra. But we could give you an FUL when we come back into office, which according to Kamala Prasad-Bisasa last night is going to be sooner rather than later. And I guess she probably was looking at the turnout last night, and I will admit they had a decent turnout. Come, we will give you an FUL, and we know you'll be able to find the $7,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 to be able to purchase a gun, because a gun is more important than putting food on your table. A gun is more important than purchasing a laptop for your child because you want to gripe and complain. Rowley ain't giving out no laptop, but Kamala gave out 95 laptops. Let me just throw it in there. Kamala gave out 95 laptops in 5 years. Keith Rowley gave out 78,000 in 3 years. But again, how will the population know about this? Unless you read the newspapers, because, hey, the media is not inclined to highlight these things. And whenever we have a PNM meeting, which unfortunately still, in my view, is too few and far apart, because of the number of things that would happen between when the last meeting is held and when we have the next meeting, these things tend to get lost, right? So if they gave out 70, the last batch of laptops I think was given out in October or November last year, 8,000 laptops, which brought it to 78,000 in 3 years. I can't even remember the last PNM meeting, public meeting that we had. We were supposed to have the one for the traditional meeting after the budget at Pickett's Corner, and then we recall rain fell heavily that night, and the meeting was postponed, and since then that was it. So we've not had a meeting in months. The UNC, meanwhile, have a meeting every Monday. Well, they seem to have suspended the Monday night forum again for a little bit in favor of these crime consultations. But they started back, so they're having meetings every week, whether it's press conferences or whatever it is. And I asked the question before, and I'm saying, why is it that these supporters of the People's National Movement have to be so, why we always had to be longing for a meeting and can't get one? Why the only meeting we're seeing is from the opposition side with the propaganda, but we're not getting the responses to the propaganda from the persons in the know, from the leadership of the party, the leadership of the government coming on. I mean, the ministers who could come and give us empirical information about what's happening in their ministry and debunk the nonsense that the UNC is saying. PNM's meetings are too few and too far apart. And it's not Noah saying that. Too few and too far apart. We can't be having a public meeting 4 or 5 meetings for the year. And then when election, wait until election starts, and then we having meetings every week. By that time, the damage is already done. The damage is already done. We should be, even if it's once every 2 weeks, we could, in the first instance, we could accept that. But to be going months without a public meeting, and then when we do have one, it's about 3 hours, and we're hearing from the same speakers. Come now, man, Ole. Do better than that now. Please, I'm begging on behalf of the supporters of the PN. So let me just play this thing here. You know,
Those of you all might.
Gary Griffith is the poster boy for, I don't know, ego. In anywhere that you look for a definition of ego, whether it's in a dictionary or in wherever, Gary Griffith's picture should pop up first. Poster boy for ego. This man, I mean, even in the introduction, Nicholas Morris is introducing him and reading his bio, and even in that, right? Well, even in the bio, which I imagine he would have written and presented it for them. You have to be hearing about he was the only person in Trinidad and Tobago to do this, and the only person ever in the army to do that, and he was the first to do this, and I, and then he comes up to speak and it's the same thing, and if I wasn't there, and then there was something that happened while he was commissioner of police, where these criminals came to Port of Spain to mash up Port of Spain, and if I wasn't there, had it not been for the fact that I was there, they would have burned down Port of Spain. I'm like, really, Gary? Really? Well, then you all don't need these crime talks. All you need to do is to put on a cape and a mask. That's all. Put on a cape and a mask, Gary, and get a nice looking 2-door Mercedes, and you're good to go. Fit it out with some wings at the back and stuff. Get Injan Ishmael to customize it for you to look like the Batmobile, and you're good to go. Crime in Trinidad and Tobago done. We don't need no police. We don't need no army. All we need is right.
Those of you all might.
So I'm not gonna play too much of him, right? But just what I found to be interesting. Just this and highlight
Commit unlawful violence and intimidation.
That's not. Let me just do this here. Right. Why isn't this thing connecting? There we go. Just playing 2 minutes of him.
Especially to citizens, that person can and should be deemed a terrorist. We have persons here, these criminal elements, they have assault weapons, automatic weapons that can fire 35 rounds in 3 seconds. 35 rounds in 3 seconds. Let me show what that means. If it is that 5 of them stand up here right now, everyone in this room could be killed in 3 seconds. If that is not a terrorist, I don't know what is. That is what these individuals have. Now let us compare that to the Jamat in 1990, when you had 100 untrained persons using muskets, and a handful of people were killed. They were known as terrorists. I would recommend what we need to do is to look at the same Anti-Terrorism Act, and another country has done it recently. If we place these individuals where they belong as terrorists, it now provides that opportunity for 2 things. It now ensures that we can go after these individuals with full force, where it is that it will be non-bailable. They will now be just like a sentence as a capital punishment, 25 years in prison. And it also goes after individuals who are involved in aiding and abetting these gangs, from the fellow gang members to the gang leaders to the persons who finance it, to the persons who import it, and even to certain politicians. Because when I spoke about the problem of gangs being funded by the state, the present Prime Minister said, well, it is their right to get it. You cannot be more ignorant than that. When you feed the enemy, they are going to fund themselves to the point that they are going to have better artillery to go after the same law enforcement agencies that we are asking to protect us. So if it is we go under that anti-terrorism bill, as I said, and we use that, these individuals can now be deemed terrorists. It can now make us go after these individuals. It provides an important point here. We have a Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, 5,000 strong, and they stay in camp. And the reason for it is because of the situation that they're in. They are boxed in a situation where they do not have the capability to come out and operate as they should. So what we do, we give them a cosmetic aspect of what is known as joint patrols, a soldier and a police officer. This is no longer time for being cosmetic. This is a time for we are under siege, we are under war. And if it is we utilize the Defense Force under Chapter 1401 of the Defense Act in Para 4, it gives the president the authority to put them on active service. And the active service will allow them to make clinical operations to go after these gangs. We are talking about a couple thousand members, gang members, compared to 12,000 well-trained members of the Defense Force and the police that can go after these criminals, peg them back. It worked before. I was able to do it with just 100 persons known as the Special Operation Response Team. It put fear in the criminals, it pegged them back, and it was the highest reduction in violent crime in 17 years. So as I close, I want to stay within the 15 minutes here. As I said, it can open the window for the Defense Force to operate. It will now give them the opportunity to be involved in operations. Jamaica, in fact, has the same thing that happens right now. They go along something known as a zone of special operations. That zone of special operations allows the Defense Force to go in there with clinical operations to go after these gang members, these terrorists, these persons who have caused each and every one of you to be fearful. As I close, we can change this. We can transform Trinidad and Tobago. It requires the political will. Unfortunately, if it is that we provide the policy, the programs, the tools, the individuals who are in position right now may not have the capability or may not even want to do it. So two things we can do. We can at least prepare, as we are doing now, by proper dialogue with you, the citizens of this great country. And if it is that those that are in authority, who will be leaving office shortly, democratically, do not want to accept it, at least we will be prepared, we will have the foundation. So when we are in that position, we can hit the ground running and we do not need a honeymoon period. I thank you.
Right. Okay, Gary. There was a hypocrisy in that. He spoke about the guns and these criminals have guns that could shoot up 35 rounds in 3 seconds, and they have the kind of guns that they could, if they were to come in here, they could kill everybody in this room in 3 seconds. Spoke up, and well, as I said, he spoke for 15 minutes, but I don't have the time right now to play all of the things that he said. But in everything, aside from he spoke for 15 minutes and for 7.5 for attacking the government and the Prime Minister, the Minister of National Security, the Commissioner of Police. For the next 7.5 minutes that he spoke, for the 3 that he wasn't talking about himself, the other 4.5 minutes that he spoke, not one mention did Mr. Griffith make about the fact that when he was Commissioner of Police, he was one of the challenges that he faced, despite the fact that he wants you to think that he was the best commissioner ever. One of the challenges that he admitted he faced was the issue of bail, right? You heard him there talk about declare these folks, make amendments to the Terrorist Act and declare these criminals as terrorists and we could go after them and so on. Non-bailable. I hear what he said, non-bailable. I wonder if Janty heard Gary say that last night. I wonder if Anand Ramlogan heard Gary say that. I wonder if Kamala heard that or if she was often in dreamland when he mentioned that. Because here it is, he's talking about non-bail, but the UNC are the same people who are the strongest advocates for bail, as Janty say. Bail is a constitutional right. Well, the right to access or to apply for bail, the right to apply for bail. It's a constitutional right. And they are of the view that you ought not to deny people bail, but rather put ankle bracelets on them, because when you deny them bail, you are creating single-parent homes. You are creating delinquent children because they don't have the presence of a father. And that is the ideal type of father to have, the one who, when he gets up in the morning, whatever time, is to go out and look to distress people, to rob people, to kill people. That is the role model. That is the type of father we need to ensure that is in the lives of these children. Right? We cannot have him just wasting away behind bars when he could be out there influencing his children to follow in his footsteps, especially his boy children. Yeah, especially his boy children. Especially if you have a teenage son who is 14 and 15, who you normally sit down on the block with and smoke a weed and that kind of thing, you know. Or when it is that he had the Glock or whichever gun and he handed it to the son so that he could see what it feels like to have a gun. How that feeling? We're going to graduate, because what's the point of having a gun just to say you have a gun? Guns are meant to shoot. Yeah, and there's no feeling. Shooting a beer bottle or shooting a can of a ledge certainly doesn't give you that feeling that you get when you shoot another human being. And so when we train you mentally to hate, because I would like to think that to be able to just take somebody's life like that, there must be some level of hate for this person. But then again, some of them, it really don't matter to them. When you've taken sufficient number of lives, you become cured. So when there is no mercy. To you, everybody is the same. I've done it before. You couldn't care less about the emotional impact that it has on the family of the person that you kill. You don't care about the financial impact. But the UNC tells us we must be concerned about the impact of denying these people bail would have on their families, but no regard for the families of the persons who they kill, especially when it's innocent persons that they kill in a robbery or whatever it is. Somebody needs to remind Gary of that. Yeah, that the party which he supports and the persons who organized that symposium or whatever it is last night and who intend to carry that throughout the country, they are of the view that every criminal is entitled to bail. But what the point I wanted to make was that meeting, that press conference Gary had when he was Commissioner of Police to talk about the bullets and to chastise the opposition at that time when he was Commissioner of Police for not supporting the bail amendment bill, which would deny persons who are charged with gun crimes and especially repeat offenders to deny them bail for up to 120 days. He came as Commissioner of Police and pleaded with them. He made the point that when they were in government in 2013, they had an issue with this bullet, the 7-point whatever and the 5-point whatever. They had a problem with it then, so much so that would have informed their decision to introduce the sunset clause to deny bail for 120 days. But here it is, in a different time, different dispensation. We have a greater proliferation of guns. The type of weapons that we're seeing now it was not in as large a supply in 2013 as it was in 2021 and 2022 and 2023. So it's a different dispensation, a different situation which calls for different treatment. So when we had less guns and we didn't have the type of dangerous guns that we have now, or they weren't as I said before, they weren't as in large supply. The UNC said we need to deny them bail. But he made no mention of that last night, right? So apparently that issue no longer exists, because the last time I checked, you could be caught with these types of weapons and still get bail, right? They cannot deny you bail for 120 days in the first instance. Why? Because UNC refused to support that legislation, and because this is something that impinges on a constitutional right. It requires a special majority in the parliament. But he didn't talk about that last night in the 15 minutes. He could have taken 2 minutes less to talk with Gerald Hines and Dr. Rowley and talk about that. Talk about that. Call on the UNC, 19 of them who sit in on the opposition bench in the lower house to support the legislation. The same legislation he wanted them to support when he was Commissioner of Police. But apparently that's not impacting what is happening today. So he wants to give you a whole set of other strategies and so. But let us leave that one out, because that makes the opposition look bad. That puts responsibility on the opposition for a certain, that places a certain level of responsibility on the opposition for what is taking place now. But continue to give these guys bail for everything. So you're a repeat gun offender, you have 2 other gun charges pending, and you catch you again with more guns, well, more bail for you. You go ahead and continue to rack it up, and then eventually So like your license, when you have enough demerit points, they suspend your license. Well, I don't know how you're going to suspend these guys, right? But that's their solution to the crime situation. Let us ignore anything that would highlight the incompetence of the opposition. Let us not talk about that. So in all these crime talks that they're going to be having all over the country, let us see if Gary Griffith is going to make any mention of that. Because he knew about it when he was commissioner of police. But apparently it's not an issue now, so he wouldn't talk. And then he spoke about the special operations team. So, again, and Dr. Hubert Daisley was one of the speakers that they had last night. And I wonder how Dr. Daisley felt sitting there listening to Gary Griffith talk about this special operations response team when he, Dr. Daisley, would have done or conducted the private autopsy on one of the men who was held for Andrea Barrett's murder, right? He would have done a detailed report of all the injuries that this individual would have suffered. Injuries which went contrary to what Mr. Griffith would have told us as Commissioner of Police, that the man fell off a chair and he died as a result of falling off the chair. This Dr. Daisley, after trying to find the report, I don't know why I can't find it if they remove it, but he, remember, the family commissioned a private autopsy, and the extent of injuries was, wow, it was mind-blowing. So to hear him come now and talk about you had this 100 officers and so on, and wow, I mean, come on, Gary. If you say you could have do it with 100 officers, 100, yeah, so had 100 officers and so on, and you were able to bring crime down to the lowest it had been in decades, according to Kamala Prasad, sister. Why you need the whole army? Why the whole army? You do it with 100 men, right? So I don't know what position Mr. Griffith hopes to get back into office in 2020. Does he want to be the Minister of National Security? Does he want to be the Prime Minister? Or does he want to be the Commissioner of Police? Seems to me leaning towards Commissioner of Police, but he's already shown his political hand. But then he will say he could divorce himself from the politics if he gets back into the position because it's about country and all of that. He would become a patriot again. But for now, let me bad talk Keith Rowley and Fitzgerald Hines and all of that. The irony of irony is that these people come in to have crime talks, but right now the same opposition organizing these things only have a man before the court on $1 million bail. $1 million bail. This man is chief whip. This man has intentions and hopes of becoming the next Minister of Energy, and he has a case pending before the court for fraud, misbehavior in public office. You have a man sitting down in the parliament representing a constituency. This man was fired from not one but two public utilities companies for, again, gross misconduct and misbehavior. You have another one who is under police investigation for human trafficking and prostitution. And one of his former colleagues would have told you that while he was sitting on a board or boards under that administration, 2010 to 2015, he is accused of all manner of wrongdoing. But yet still, all they want to come and talk to us about crime and you will have the solution to crime. When in your midst you had a man last night who was walking around handing people pen and paper, is the subject of a police investigation, and you want to talk to me about crime, and you'll have the solution as if the only crime we have in this country is murder. White collar crime is just as dangerous, because when you are stealing the public's monies, it is just as dangerous. When it is that, and he Gary, want to talk about they giving contracts and the Prime Minister, what the Prime Minister say, and so on. You all are always defending the rights of the criminals. When he was Minister of National Security, he spoke to the issue of criminals getting contracts. Look, Spanish, who died a couple of days ago from a heart attack, was affiliated with them. And they said that he was a community leader. Community leader. He wasn't affiliated with the PNM. Same Gary had issues with the Hoop of Life program. He had issues with life sport and all the criminal activity and the criminal element that was getting contracts, white collar and others. But he forget about that. And he forgets about that. Hypocrisy knows no bounds with these people. But they have the solution to crime. They have the solution. Turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the wrongdoing in their party, and let's just focus on the PNM. Focus on the government. Right? But we're not going to talk about the fact that the opposition refuses to support legislation that could assist in the crime fight. We're not going to talk about the fact that the opposition continues to engage in activities through their attorneys, the best lawyers in Trinidad and Tobago, to frustrate the judiciary, coming and looking to overturn things and advocating that persons who should be sitting behind bars should get bail because they might be innocent. Yeah, they might be innocent. Let us focus on that. Never mind that they have a rap sheet, as I said, longer than the UNC's list of transgressions against this country. But still, give them bail, right? Because they're going to go outside and turn their lives around. Put ankle bracelets on them. And that will solve the problem. Yeah, that'll solve the problem. 7701763, as I said to you all, I had a run at 8 o'clock, so let me see how many calls we can get in that time. Yeah, sure, set of criminals talking about crime. Yeah, they say Trinidad really is not a real place. And it's things like these, yeah, that's kind of have you thinking. Maybe there might be some substance to that claim. Criminals. You have a woman who, as prime minister, received 100 and just now I call her, let me just change this. $135,000 and couldn't give proper explanation. And her supporters accept that. But if it had been a minister of government under the PNM, or if it was Dr. Rowley, yeah, boy. Investigations galore. Let's see, where is this thing? Nice. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Don. How are you?
I am good, man.
Okay. Dominic, I totally agree with you. I find it passing strange to see high-ranking foreign diplomats attending that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? If I was one of those people, I would distance myself from people who have criminal records and who are before the court.
Yes.
So I find it passing strange that I have foreign dignitaries attending that meeting. Knowing there's somebody involved in human trafficking of women. Right?
Yep.
That has somebody involved with murder with life sports. And it have foreign dignitaries in that meeting.
Yes.
I think the government of Trinidad need to investigate that, you know. That is very, very serious. And we need to find out who is financing that so-called meeting.
Yes.
Because as far as I'm concerned, the UNC is financially and politically bankrupt of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I still trying to find out who wanted to prop up that lady as prime minister. She doesn't even work properly.
Yes.
Something not right there. And I hope that the government need to investigate those so-called foreigners who attended that meeting. Because if I was one of those people, I distance myself with that. It have criminals in that meeting. White-collar criminals.
Yep.
Don't know if you have a good day.
You too, sir. Hello, good morning.
Dominic?
Morning.
Remember that woman called Chrislyn No More?
Yes.
What she said to put poison people's food.
Yes, and give them diarrhea.
Came better after the fact. Isn't enticing to kill people a crime?
Yes.
Why she was in jail? They want to talk about crime. But that is a crime because Visine can kill people. And became a set artifact for UNC. Who you want to fool? When you have the one, Mr. Fogley, on a fraud charge, fraud is a crime. It affects the entire nation. And a ram, the foreign TFCT of 3.3 million, it is a crime. She defrauded the entire nation and had the goal to show his face for elections last year. How it is? You see, UNC have double standards. Fraud for the UNC is not a crime because there was no gun or knife. Crime is a crime, is a crime, is a crime, is a crime. Guy Griffith, may I have a question now? Are you serious? Are you happily married? How many people in marriage? You, Rowley, and your wife? Or you and Rowley? Because everything you come against Rowley. The businessman who killed his wife 2 years ago, he had a license for a gun. She dare leave him, right? Killed her property. So I want to say between 2010 to 2015 plus, there was no crime, right? There's 46 murders, eh?
Yes.
The first days of the year. So guess what? It has crime under UN, under PNL. Keep pacing, Biriam said this. If you lose election, blood will flow like water. So had she won, there'll be no crime. It says clearly for all who hear, that was a sign. Do your best, do your worst. And UNC, you hear me well, eh? You are gang. You are the Jim Jones of Trinidad and Tobago. You offended, good. I did my job. You are hateful. You are evil. You are the spew of Beelzebub. You have no ethics, no morals, nothing. You pretend to love people. When you have people fighting for criminals to give them bail, single parents, the person they killed, what were they? Dog foot, cat foot, or horse manure? What were they? Because you fight for their rights. What about the person who crying over their son and daughter? Mother, father, husband, sister, mother, wife. What about them? They don't count, right? So you kill a criminal. You know why? Because you're a criminal gang. You have no ethics. And over to the next one. We try to expose the PNM, you expose your life. So keep on talking, Mr. Ginal. You see this thing, Dominic? I record it. For future reference.
Yes.
So I'll keep talking. You expose yourself for being a hypocrite. And people, guess what? Save everything Dom says, save it for free references. So come 2025, we can put them in the list. Dom have a good day, be saved by people later.
True, thank you so much. See what folks are saying here. Shuma says, sometimes I wonder if these criminal activities are not deliberate to make the government look bad. Of course. Of course. Let us not forget it's the same Gary Griffith who told us as Commissioner of Police that intelligence showed that Munilal had some linkages, that some 40-something million had been spent by the opposition.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Hi, my name is Chelsea from Free Citizens Contact Center. This is Dominic Romain.
Yeah, but you call in, let me call you back.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, but I can't speak at the moment.
No problem. You won't be able to reach me back on this number. You will have to call you.
All right, no problem. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, morning.
Hi, good morning to you, Dominic.
Morning.
Dominic, you know, nothing surprises me nowadays. You look at the Republican caucus, Iowa caucus. You see Trump won by the widest ever margin.
Yes, I saw that.
Right? He's facing over 90-something charges. He's going to appear in court today for additional defamation to this lady's name. She already won the case, and he is so stupid. He came outside and defamed her again. Now you are telling me a man like this could be the President of the United States of America.
Yeah.
What do you live us here, Dominic? No wonder Camilla is still able to fill that room last night, because there are people no matter where you are in the world,
Correct.
And, so nothing really now. Morality is nothing. It's just about power. Gary Griffith has no right on any crime team unless we, the public, we're supposed to know what is in that report. Because if you are part of the crime, how on earth could you be part of the solution? Thank you, Dominic. Have a great, great day.
Yes, thank you. You too. Yeah, but again, you're so right, Colin, because I looked at that last night and I saw and there are people who Donald Trump will continue to maintain support regardless, even if he is found guilty of several of these charges. Listening to this man, he sounds like a complete buffoon. But there are people who will still vote for him, and the same thing with the UNC, because their motives is not about good governance. They just do like Dr. Rowley. They do like the PNM.
Yeah, interesting topic, man.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, it was amazing for me, right? You're calling for the Terrorism Act to invoke, right?
Yes.
Now, the provisions of the terrorism are even more draconian and young the bill that the UNC refused. And you know what's interesting? That the same principles were in there, right? In last night. And part of the provision of the Terrorist Act is that all your rights under 4, 5 and the Constitution will be suspended.
Right.
I don't know if people are aware of that. And also, you could now in the defense force for the police. Am I in extrajudicial killing? The state of the West some years ago when he said that it was the biggest criminal gang in the country. And I'm saying, once you go down that road, we see what happened in Ecuador. That will be our future. And I'm saying, Dominic, that the people who are currently saying now, why we don't use the army? When the army is used in this way, it is therefore warfare against this civilian population, right? And these cowards, who would have seen the footage of the operation in Paul Street and how people were behaving. This is what will happen when you use the provision of the Terrorist Act. Fellows will hide behind women and children wherever they are. And if members of the media go on these operations, what is the footage you feel they would be seeing, Dominic? They will be seeing the engagement of the police by those who do wish to surrender.
Yes.
Heavy weapons, and like our version of what is going on in Gaza. That's what it means, People are saying that this man is a man to be taken serious, put back in office. And then with the other side of it, the very same lawyers defended the men who were held under the SOE. The last SOE that this Sheila Rampersad is calling for. And the same lawyers that went to the appeal court and ended up in the Privy Council.
Yes.
And made durable offense after over 100 years. And I'm telling you, Medial, Ram Logan and his chambers, the freedom chambers will be the people who represent them of their rights and ensuring that these actors will reach all the way to the civic again. You understand? But I am saying, for me, this represents to me their end game. Their end game is to use the very laws passed in the parliament to undermine this current government, the level of the state.
Yes.
Listen, we don't need no terrorism act that's to be enforced. All we need is for the sheriff officers to do their work, and also for things like capital punishment and so on, and not the work. So like I explained to one of my friends last night. Last Anglia was 1999. That's 25 years ago this year. So I mean, we have a whole generation of people. I was a young man then. I suspect you were a teenager then. Mm-hmm. There's a whole generation of people who have no idea of what we woke up to and the morning when Chadian is young. And when that last happened is in 1999. And that's the problem. We don't have a population who has an appreciation of the legitimate effect of carrying out that death penalty. Once that is absent, this would have. But I didn't expect anything different from what I saw there. And I expect it will burst at the seams all over when this crime symposium talks are held. Yes. It will be held by one. Yeah, I expect the court to be dominated by one ethnic group. I make no more bones about it. And to hear Miss Amir last night in an interview with and Slim saying that people are terrified and so on, and under the Pandey and UN and Federation Amazon, really? Mm-hmm. It was the Mr. Pandey who threw up his hands and said, when you the national security, someone took the portfolio and you can't do anything again. Mm-hmm. And it was under the UNC that Noura started to climb, and under the PP, it reached 500 for the first time. Isn't that so, my brother? Now is when we first do it, when we first set out to deceive. Yes. Shit, but I was Jamal. I am saying law enforcement shouldn't fall into the trap of this call for the terrorism provisions to be enforced by the former commissioner. They are to ask them to support simple legislative recommendations, the 120 days new bill for the with a firearm, and especially when you are a offender. We want these matters, none of the decisions of the administration of justice and the procedure and the requirement are enforced. Let's have them roll out speedily. The timelines to be set. So I appear before the court with an illegal firearm. All the disclosures are made by both sides. A definite trial date could be given. And this person matters that. That's what has to be done. And the extra courts at the judicial complex down there, the waterfront towers, yes. Let's use them. Let's put them to work. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what we need to do them. And if we start to do that, I'm telling you, we will see a turnaround in this crime scourge. I agree. Then everybody put their shoulder to the wheel and use the provisions that we already have. Because I'm saying, so finally, once I leave, once we go to what this man is calling for, this terrorism act, we will be spiraling quickly with places like Yemen, Democratic Republic of Congo, and our neighbors to the north of us. That's what we want, the only progress we are making for the last 8 years, going to 9 years, sir? I think not. With a general election to come, we don't need to go that way. Take care, brother. Thank you. You too, sir. Right. So Brian will be my last call for this morning, but Brian, hold 1 sec for me. Hold 1 sec. I just wanted to play this quickly. This is also from last night, right?
With over 40 years experience. And I can safely tell you that when I was in charge of Central Division, the people could have slept with the house open. I will go on national television and I will warn the criminals to stay out of Central. And if they do come and they leave to tell the story, there's another story. And there is no leadership in the police service. And if the media pick it up and they want to chastise me, they could go ahead. I could stand up and say that anyway. And the reason for that is because some persons went and get elevated because of friendship, because of clique. Correct. I don't want to use all those words. While I was on the ground fighting crime, they were studying. If you don't have a leader, you can't have followers. And without all proper security in a country, you can't have no investment. They have no motivation in the police service. And on top of that, 4%. Under the leadership of Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessa, 14%. They get it back in 6 months. $1,000 extra on the salary. They was motivated more than ever. And I can keep going on and on and on. But the whole thing is that we must take back this country. And in order to do that, the police service have to have proper leadership and persons who are willing to make that sacrifice to work night and day to bring back this country to peaceful. Thank you very much.
So the way to get the police to do their work, give them 14%, give them an extra $1,000. They need to be financially motivated. So when they decided, you know what, I saw an ad in the newspapers, they're looking for a few good men to join the service. The decision to go and join the service was monetary. It wasn't that they wanted to join the crime fight. It wasn't that they wanted to make a difference. No. It was, yeah. So that was your initial motivation. But when you join the service, if you want motivation to do your work as a police officer to protect and serve, you need $1,000 extra, 14%, and whatever else, monetary. But when the Prime Minister spoke the other day about a certain special team of officers and so on, and to provide them with additional incentives, they took him to task, rake him over the coals, right? Same people. And this man, praising Kamala, I'm talking about when he was the head of the Central Division and he warned the criminals if you come. And if you're lucky to leave alive, well, that is a different story. If you're lucky to leave alive. Anyway, and he have hopes of being part of the next administration because the last time he spoke, he told them, well, I'm available if you need me, should you all come back into office. Available in what capacity? Minister of National Security, right? So you intend to chastise the Commissioner of Police as they did just now? The police service have no leadership. When you were fighting crime, she was studying. Okay. All right. I wonder why you didn't study and maybe why you only reached a certain rank. Brian, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Morning, sir.
I'll be very brief. You know, it's amazing when you're out of office. You could say anything, you know.
Yes.
Because he was there.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard him say that I could deal with you and then afterwards you got answer question.
Yeah.
He wasn't talking like that. But today he's talking too. See, when you're not there and you don't have no responsibility, and they never made him Commissioner of Police. I wonder if he ever applied. But today he has mouth.
Yes.
Just like Griffith. When you're not empowered, you can say any and everything, you know. That's how you fool the people. You understand? If I could tell you, hey, I know all what to do. Uran Munila said that we have the manpower, we have the capability, we know exactly what we need to do in order to stop this crime. They had a chance for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. And what they did was empty the treasury. Give everybody guns. Go and tell Isabella Tilak Singh's parents who was in church that the fellow who had the gun, who's still on the run. You understand? That he ever had a gun too. And your innocent daughter, 15 years old today, is no more. Go and tell them that. Don't run. Because there was an altercation with somebody. So why are you running? Stand up and face the consequences. And this is what is going to be happening, as you said earlier, Dominic. People with guns will shoot. And that terrorism thing that Griffith talking about is to hide behind not supporting bail.
Because they put these people in jail for 25 years, and the same Kamala Prasad is saying now right there, who said, oh gosh, to put the money behind bars, that is not fair to them, they have rights. The same Lakshmi Dayal saying, get them bail so they could come out and mind the children and look for work. That's why I keep saying, whenever them not in power, they say one thing. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So it's terrorism right throughout the country, and you take out the army, and you have the army running around all over the place, and at the end of the day, what? People talking as though crime just started. They was there. Outside of the PNM, there were 3 other governments that was there to deal with the same crime we were talking about all these years. It's not yesterday's crime start. And what was their solution? Do you know we're still paying for that because people still before the court and their attorneys taking the same people that they incarcerated before the court to get money from the government. They're suing the government. And their attorneys taking those same people and going to court with them and getting money, and they're making money too.
Mm-hmm.
So it is all about a money making something. It's what I'm talking about, power and money. You're saying one thing when you say no in a chair, and people are and you're making jokes about all kind of stupidness. And when you get inside there, it's about what? Power and money to hell with everybody else.
Mm.
And that is the problem in this society because we tend to forget. So they have all them. I have asked people say what the government and the opposition leadership, the prime minister, the opposition leader. I keep asking them. I know the government's team. Name the opposition leader's team to meet with the government's team. Up to now, they can't tell me who on the opposition leader's team. All they say is, well, Gary Griffith is one of them. I say, okay, who is the rest? They can't tell me. Because there's no team from the opposition. She's not interested in that. Up to now, she has not responded to the letter sent by the Attorney General. Up to now. And there's where we are. So people keep forgetting. You think they're interested in solving crime? No, they're not. All this is that prayer for the elections coming up in 2025. So that they can say, look, we're talking about crime. We're concerned about crime. A bunch of half of them before the court. And people say, no, let us listen to them. Well, as a lady called and said earlier, a la Donald Trump.
Yes.
Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. So, folks, it is 8:02. As I said, I had to depart early this morning, but as always, thank you all for joining me. I will try my best to listen to the rest of the crime meeting last night, and well, I had to hear what the leader of the opposition said. But based on early, just to use Pali's term, the cursory glance of from last night, it was basically a political meeting. Opportunities to throw jabs at the government. As I said, I'm just a little concerned that you had representatives of the diplomatic corps who were there. Just one thing, let me see if I could find. So I came across a little calypso that is an offering for this year, and I found it to be hilarious. It's by a gentleman by the name of Pharaoh. Heard it on Saturday, So I thought I would leave you with that one. So let me see if I get it here. Just probably play. So maybe I will so too. It's about Watson, my friend Watson. I don't know if you all have heard it before, but it's worth a listen. You could go on Facebook. It's called "I Don't Want to Do It" by Pharaoh.
I go big woman of a party and a sexy female deputy. They agree to meet in the office to discuss party business. But the deputy had a different plan. She decided to surprise the man. Take out she told and tell him take all. She got a surprise when the man balls. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I tell myself take it easy. I don't have a race case already. But if I refuse, she could spray me and tell the police I rape shit. I don't want to do it. No. I don't want to do it. But if you force me, I'm warning you. You love a baby on the big toe. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
You love a baby on my big toe. I don't want to do it. So, folks, if you haven't heard it before, you can check it out on YouTube. As I said, it's called I Don't Want to Do It by Pharaoh. So, folks, enjoy your day. Have a good one, a productive one. And God's willing, we will chat again on Thursday. Yes, right. It has a bit of a. It's not. I don't think he is Shadow's son, but it has a Shadow flavor. I think. I don't know. I think Impulse has a song with a similar melody. I can't remember the name of it. For those of you who are the calypso connoisseurs, you could probably tell me. Impulse has, I don't know, yeah, but I like it. On Thursday we'll play the whole thing. Yeah. So yes, Rudy, he does sound like Shadow. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great day, and yeah, Tuesday, God's willing, we'll chat again.